Well, well, well. Here we go. I am going to power through some of this cloak tonight. Um, I've been messing around a little bit with doing a little bit of color testing here and there. And I think what I'm going to do is start the top with Drakenhof Nightshade, and then fade that down to Magos Purple. It may get some amount of Basilicum Grape, but I think it's going to need that much if it does, just to sort of get between the two. So I think that's a good idea. We're going to give it a shot. So with no further ado, let's do this. I am going to, just to be safe, get a little bit of Lamian Medium onto this wet palette in case I need to dilute things a little bit. Sort of leave that in the middle. And I may actually use that to blend into between the two of these guys. Get that done. All right, give this a little wash, and we will get to it. Yeah, well, I still have some energy. And I do realize I've been kind of consistent, but I'm not really trying to be all that consistent. All right, there we go, get a dab. But yeah, I'm still in it. Still working it. All right. So this, gotta be a little careful with this contrast paint. Probably don't need to thin it at all, actually. Just get in there and get all those bits. Very light under here. You see that? Very light. There's going to be a lot of steps on this, dude. A lot of steps. Though I am going to keep him relatively light throughout. So I'm going to try to get about a third of the way down with this. And then I'll start fading it a bit. I'm not too worried about the tubes and pipes around there because those are going to get some metal. But I obviously don't want to totally murk them either. Yeah, Darktide's pretty good. I haven't played it since it got updated, but I enjoyed it when it first came out, except for the fact that it was really tough to consistently be connected to it, find matches and stuff. Even with people like I was playing with buddies of mine, and it took forever to get the game to start up. But I enjoyed it. It's very very satisfying. It's very grim. It's very dark, and you do purge a lot of heretics. I was playing God, I can't remember the name of the class because it's been months since I played it. But I was playing the like holy guy, the cleric essentially, and it was cool. It was really cool. Fun game, but the connectivity was pretty jacked up when I was playing it. It was a struggle, but man, when we were in matches and they stayed connected, it felt really good. Kill that. I should have known that was coming. That's my stream alarm. Maybe I should stream. Maybe I should remember that that alarm's going to go off. Maybe. How about that? The point here is that I want him to look pretty ghostly. Not like Casper the Friendly Ghost ghostly, but a little bit. Yeah, we had a really good crew of like one person as each class, and it really shined that way. And to some extent, Vermintide was similar. Like if you had a decent person in each slot, you could get a lot done. The classes married well together. About a third of the way down, which is where I said I was trying to get. I'm just going to soup up some of this, get it on here. I was not so good at playing with randos, but that's life. There is a spot here of like some fleshy stuff getting through. I'm not too worried about going over that because I'm going to hit that with a pretty hefty amount of some sort of one of the flesh shades that I've got. I am being very careful around this armor though. I'll go down a little bit on the loincloth, but not much. And what I'm going to do, go a little further down on this. And once again, I'm not worried about the metal at all. Yoink. You can go down a little further on the back here. There we go. Now we're getting in there. All right, so now with just pretty much water on there, maybe grab a little bit of pigment, Lamian medium, mostly Lamian medium, just brushing down a little further, just so that it's not as thick and as direct a line. Probably should be doing this as I go, but this way it starts to fade a little. Could have done that a little bit better, but that's okay. Just get a little bit of fade in there, especially down like any sort of creases. Get down to there. That is pretty darn light. I'm being super duper cautious, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. His cloak may stay pretty light. Might not. We'll see. Just continuing to kind of pull a little bit, just the tiniest bit of pigment down. Not a lot. Just a little bit, and I may be going over this a couple times, so there's absolutely that. Dip of water. Yeah. It's definitely darker on top than it is going down. Pull this all the way to this piece of cloth. Hey, TK. Well, hello there. How goes the painting process? Man, this thing is like mad intimidating, but I am having fun and I'm trying a bunch of new stuff out. I think I'm using 8 times the amount of contrast paint on this model than I have on anything else. So it's good. It's good. But I'm still pretty terrified. Everything obviously you could see from this song barely coloring the thing. And obviously with its base coat being white, it's just going baby steps. I think I am intending to paint this model pretty darn light relative to a lot of them that you see. How am I going to hold this guy now? I'll hold him from up here. But that's very intentional. As I get into this purple on the bottom, yeah, that's looking good. Hey, we found color. But yeah, it's going good. I'm pretty excited to be painting this guy. I'm definitely excited to add him to my army. But he is a very big diversion away from stuff that I'm used to. which is good because a lot of this journey is about learning how the heck to paint. You don't learn by painting the same guy. Well, you learn a lot of things by painting the same guy 80 times, but I've got enough poxwalkers for now. Not that you can ever have truly enough of them, but I have plenty. I got a decent number of Space Marines, or Space Marines, Plague Marines, but I do actually have to make more of those guys. My army requires it. I do learn something new every time, but this is a great, great departure. Just like the Night Tyrant was like just really cool to do something very different. So yeah, I'm having fun. Trying to take advantage of momentum here. And excuse me, because this is a doozy of a model. I want to make sure that I'm keeping at it. And it was a long weekend, and that certainly lends itself to getting a lot done. I'm not sure how much time I will have during the week. Getting in while the getting's good. All right, so it appears that I'm not doing the worst job of getting this to fade. A little better on the bottom than I was on the top, which is good. Now I gotta be careful. I always gotta remind myself when I get back near the armor that you should probably like chill out and not go so fast. But yeah, definitely learning. So what I'm doing here is just like getting some contrast on there, but then dabbing this brush in some water and thinning it, which I could have done a little bit better up here, and I definitely could have done 50 times better on the edge of that wing. I'm not terribly worried about the wing. That'll get fixed up. But process of fading stuff is very new. And not getting it 100% right, but there we go, get a little bit more pigment on there. Sort of scooch it a little bit. Yeah, I'm going for a more ghostly, wraith-like look. And as much as that piece, I did not actually attach it when I should have. It's not going to be too big of a deal because it's going to get this Magos purple will already be full on the bottom there, so I don't have to fade to it. But yeah, I gotta get that piece out of the sprue, prime that bad boy up, get to business. And the stitches I'll go over with something like something better. You ever thought of using Primaris models for your Death Guard army? So I don't actually know what constitutes, in case of models, a Primaris model. Like I know a little bit lore-wise what that is, but I don't know what the distinction is. So perhaps you could illuminate me, as Horace might say. I'm just doing this over and over again. Go. There's a big glop in there. I'm just going to remove some of this absolute excess that is pulled in there because I added a lot of water to this thing. And now everything's got a case of the drips. Alright, so that's decently faded. Decently. I want to get ahead of myself, but not looking too shabby. And I know contrast paint is supposed to lay it on pretty heavy. but I'm so new to it that just trying to take my time with it, get it all covered, then figure out how to loosen it. Like my familiarity with Primaris is, I think it's in the Plague Wars books with Gilliman, and they're talking about this process of like re-upping Space Marines, which I think has like a 70% chance of working, whatever medical procedure it is. So that's all I kind of know about it. I'm guessing the models got bigger over time, something like that. Not to be a totally jaded product person, but essentially buffed up Space Marines that are better in various ways, such as gear and gene seed. All right, sweet. So I guess I do kind of get it, but I don't. Like, do Death Guard models not come in that flavor? I guess is my question. Because at this point, I'm pretty psyched to take just about anything and make a Death Guard out of it, make a Plague Marine out of it. I think I'm going to make a vehicle out of all my extra parts with it. And probably have a Mortarion face on the front of it at this point, because I have an extra Mortarion face. You get two. All right, just continue to dab this pale pigment stuff in just lightly. It's mostly water. I think it's going to get a little darker in the middle, because I think I'm going to go with Basilicum Gray to sort of get these colors to line up, which I was a little worried about, but now I feel like is a viable option. I should set you down for a second there, buddy. Face down. There we go. So I'm guessing those are like the Space Marine models that just look more jacked up. Bigger, badder. Are they taller? Do they have the same base size? What was I gonna do? I had a thought. No, it's a loyalist or imperial loyalist thing, but I have a feeling the traitor warbands will get something like that in the future. Yeah, sweet. I dig it. Yeah, it's interesting because I've been finding Primaris are in fact larger. Okay, I think I'm remembering the right thing from the books, and they were talking about, because someone in those books, some famous ultramarine guy, goes through the process and like it goes fine, but like they sort of just briefly bring it up. This is Reichland Flesh Shade. All right, let's try this. Yeah, I'm very curious. I've actually been looking at Age of Sigmar stuff and being like, can I grab some pieces parts from there? Because they have those like flying bug things. And those look super cool. Even to just throw, I saw someone on Instagram had taken a bloat drone and added extra wings to it. So it was like that flying guy that has a little dude on the back from Age of Sigmar and put wings on the side. I am down at this point to try cool stuff in whatever form. My brief, barely baby steps into like kit bashing, I thought were a lot of fun. Had a blast doing that, chopping off guys' heads, putting on new heads. At this point, I have just letting the paint dry so I'm making small talk while we're here. Boom. I got like, I didn't follow any instructions on putting these together. The rest of my Plague Marines off of these sprues. I mean, the chests are close to the legs, and that's pretty much how, just to get the torso right. But everything else, I'm just picking weapons out and heads and just mixing and matching them. Obviously, that's like elementary, but long-winded answer, I'm definitely down to try a bunch of new stuff to just mix and match parts. I saw yeah, I saw one thing that was really awesome. This was months ago, and this is before I really knew. I still don't know anything, but it was when I really. It was when like I was doing. I was like, oh my god, poxwalkers. I saw someone who essentially. I don't remember if they were trying to Primaris it, but they had a plague marine, and he was just like bigger, taller. He was a little lankier. He wasn't lanky. He was still like big and bloated. But essentially, what they did is they sawed him at the waist, and they added a little bit of green stuff, maybe a little just like piece of a sprue, just in there to like give him an extra like 5% height there, which was covered by the like they all have like a loinclothish thing, so that made him a little taller. And I think he did the same with the arms, like where the arms attached, give him just a little bit more stuff in there. And they did the same thing under the head. And he had one of the guys that had like a pretty decent sized gorget. And so he just looked about 10, maybe 12% taller, bigger. And maybe that's what he was after, and I just didn't understand the term yet. The experimentation part is fun, and I'm all for it. All right, so this is Reichland Flesh Shade, and I am going to use it. I'm going to try to fade from this. I think that was Gilliman Flesh up there. Who knows? At this point, I need to go back and watch my own videos to remember what I was doing. Pretty funny. That's actually why I started recording back in the day, before I started posting this stuff, God forbid going live, which is conceptually terrifying to me. As I started recording everything I did so that I could go back and watch it later, sort of learn that way. And here we are. Yeah, purging heretics is fun, even though I am a heretic. Is that the exact same color? I don't think it is. I'm pretty sure I used Gilliman Flesh up here, but this wash is a nice transition from it. Still got to find a place to go eventually down here, but I think this is working. Getting a little wet there. You know what? I'm going to go down further. Just boop. I may just drag this down a ways. I like how this is looking. And I wasn't planning on having the wings be super colorful. Man, this guy is light though. I'm going to have to find some spots to darken him up. He looks like a piece of marble, which is not a bad thing. But I'm going to go all the way down to this spot down here. Yeah. Then I'll get some water. Yeah, it's funny because in most of the video games I played, it's like you're obviously on the good side. I would pay big money for a game where you actually played as Death Guard. Oh man, I'm sure everyone who plays heretic armies would love to play as theirs. Oh, thanks, TK. Um, yeah, it's so weird. Like, I thought when I started this whole channel thing that I was basically like, I'm gonna learn to paint models, and I'm eventually gonna learn the rules of the game once I have an army. And then somewhere, I think it was Reddit, someone was like, "Oh, if you're gonna read a book, read this book." I read it because I picked Death Guard already. I was like, "Oh my god, this book is so good. The book is crazy good." And so I was like, "All right, I'm just gonna like." Because man, I knew almost nothing. I just played video games and like bought the ninth edition codex. That was like my full knowledge. And I was like, I got to talk about this because, man, so much of this is just so wild. And it's a really good book. A genuinely awesome book. Um, I wasn't really even expecting to like read a lot. There we go. This wash is making me feel a lot better about things fading into each other. There's going to be a lot more stuff that I do to this guy, but this wash is now making me feel less like this thing is naked. Man, Lords of Silence is just genuinely good, and for me, it was a great introduction in a lot of ways. Um, just like understanding the scale that 40K its universe operates at. Like you figure out how big that ship is when they describe it. I'm like, are you serious? Like that's that's a small city. It's like what? Everything is just larger than life, and it's written very well. The characters are just genuinely interesting. Someone writing, villains in a good way, and because the book is absolutely centered on Death Guard, they're not caricatures. Like generally I guess the exception of the Horus Heresy books that are like the intro, like Fulgrim, where it's like I'm telling you his story and you can sort of watch him go down this crazy path. With the books where they're villains, like they're pretty one-sided. Um, but man, you get Death Guard dialogue and like intrigue. So I was like, yeah, I guess I'm doing an essay. This whole thing's a trap. Though, as I said to my wife, this is my midlife crisis. Like, we're in pretty good shape. I'm not like buying a expensive car and trying to fix it up, much to my chagrin. Like, no, I paint models. It's cool. All right, I gotta get a little bit of this in there to cover that breach. Thin that out a little bit. But yeah, I did not foresee that I'd be spending 3 hours. I shouldn't say spending. Those videos take a long time to make. Um, I have some familiarity with editing, but the last time I did it, it was actual tape that you cut with a razor and used like wax pencils to mark. Um, but that taught me a lot about editing too. Taught me a ton. We got sat down with Adobe Premiere and just worked it out. But it's cool. Like what a multifaceted hobby. I still have not played this game. Like I am a game designer by trade. I love playing games, and with all this blah 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 paint, I still haven't played a game yet, and I'm excited for it. I am excited for it. But yeah, quite the journey. Too many boxwalkers. Yeah, I mean the combat patrol box, as much as like points wise, mathematically, it's not a good value, and everybody says that. If you like models and you like painting stuff, and you're trying to learn a faction, I would argue it's one of the best ones. Um, but they give you 30. Like, oof. Lo and behold, poxwalkers are not that terrible in the meta right now, and you got them with typhus, but you can only take 20 in tow, which is fine. Just keep splashing this around, thin it out a little bit. Yeah, I can pick up some of these spots where it's a little much. But it's sneaking, yeah, so it's up. These veins, man, they're just drawing that stuff in, which is expected, but not, don't need quite as much in there right now. It's making them pop, which is good. Those wings look pretty fleshy. Gross. Man, I wonder if this guy's going to have anything dark on him whatsoever. All right, so we've got a blue that is a very dark blue going into a purple. And that purple may get another coat. Yeah, same here. I've not painted or played a tabletop game, but I do have Space Marine and Dark Tide. that was a lot of my sort of gateway. My only understanding of the lore was it started with Blood Bowl. Like we just had a Blood Bowl league at work. We play at lunchtime, and that was cool. And I started getting into the mythos of that. And then I'd played a bunch of video games that were Warhammer from like, starting with like Vermintide. Well, even before that, like Total War Warhammer, I think was before it. Um, then I started watching videos, weird stuff. I was watching videos of like modded versions of Arma 3 where they had just Space Marines running around. Played a bunch of Dark Tide, and I was like, I really do like this universe. I'm gonna jump in. All right, so I think what I'm gonna do to meld these two together is hit them with some Basilicum Gray, which is gonna need to be faded out pretty strongly, but I think it'll work. And if it's too dark, it's too dark. But yeah, this guy is like. I think what's gonna happen is when I paint in, I'd kill for a Doom 2016 version of Bolt Gun. No doubt. I still haven't played Bolt Gun. I do need to play it. I have fond memories of Doom. Maybe it was Doom 2, my freshman year at college. The guy in the room next to me had it, and it was just like, whoa. It's a revelation. All right, Basilicum Gray. Let's see what you got. How do I hold this guy? Oh, hold him from his back. Yeah, that stuff looks pretty dark. Pretty darn dark. It's Lamian medium. Just thin this stuff out. Grab a little bit of blue and get it in there. Now I'm mixing shades. There we go. That's the sound of power going to my head. That's what we want. Alrighty. Let's give this a shot. Maybe it's not too dark. Yeah, just get it darker down by the tips. No, that is too dark. I lied. It's pretty dark. A little dab there. There we go. Yeah. Doom was very much a revelation. Yeah, that's dark stuff. Too dark. Too dark. I am barely coloring this thing. I'm feeling like an absolute coward. I love it. I love it. Barely coloring it. Oh, he'll be creepy. Mortarion, you'll be very creepy. Gonna look absolutely ghostly. Push that up. Yeah, this gray in between's a little weird, but it is kind of working. I'm literally just putting washes on white. I don't even know if it's worth it. Oh, of course it's worth it. So little. I think this is the first time I've put contrast paint on white, and I am thinning it out, so like I shouldn't be surprised that it is very, very light. But I'm not sure I dislike it yet. Yeah, complete franchise. That's the way to go on Steam. It's just like pull the trigger on the whole kit and caboodle. Nope, that is too dark, buddy. Too dark. I don't know, man. This whole shroud is weird. I'm gonna have to hit it in its entirety with some form of wash at some point. It may make sense as I look at this. Give you a dramatic pause. The entire thing may get basilicum gray, and then I might go over it again with the colors. Like the fade's better or worse in certain spots, and that's fine. But there's absolutely some places where it's like, needs more color. I think it would have been better to potentially put something darker underneath it, even like Rakarth flesh or something like that. I don't know. It's so light. It's so light. Let me see else. I might have something else. A little. I gotta get in here. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna keep this like this. I don't mind it. The gray is like not the best part of it by a long shot. But if it was gray all over then colored, maybe that would work. So light. So light. I gotta get all up in here. I know who Markiplier is. I've never actually watched his stuff directly. I've seen plenty of clips from him. Man, it looks like I didn't color this thing at all. And the gray parts, not sure are all that beneficial. Weird. Clean that up a little bit. That is thin contrast on white for you. I gotta solve that. Hmm. Yeah, you can sit like that. You can just chill like that for a bit. Silicon Gray, you are out. You are fired. I could go crazy and thin up some Night Gaunt Gloom. I don't even know what this stuff is. I don't even know. Oh yeah, this is like house paint. not out of the running yet. I'm going to take a minute to just sit here and contemplate my sins. I don't know what Night Haunt Gloom is for, but it was a pretty picture that I saw on Amazon when I bought it. And it certainly is bright. I'm going to peek over here and see if I've got any other colors hiding that I should pull out. All right, so I do feel like Basilicum Gray was a bust. Maybe if I had done the entire thing deeper. But I may be able to rescue that section. Isn't it just contrast paint? Yeah. That gray was just not what I was looking for. I basically just, I want the cloak and the wings to not be super dark, but right now they're pretty darn light. I'll see what this looks like. I mean, that is bright. What I could do is pull the Magos purple up further. And then do, whoop, can't see it. And then do this stuff at the base. And that would be bright. That might be a decent transition. I'm going to close this for now, so I don't go too nuts with it. But I am going to just take the Magos purple and I'm just going to push it all the way up. Or push it up further. All right, Magos purple. You in this one. Do a second coat. Bottom, and then pull it up a little bit. Up we go, and when I pull up, grab some water to do it. Just, oof, that's thick. There we go. Hopefully this will get cooler when, cooler if it did. I'm basing a lot of this on when the metallics get done. There's going to be a lot of light and a lot of reasonably dark, and that will all come together. Ghostly sort of way. I don't know if I'm lying to myself when I say that, but I have high hopes. Pull some of that up, a little dab on here. So the point that I'm at right now is it's like almost all water that I'm using to pull this stuff up with, and then every once in a while I grab a little bit of pigment and keep pushing. Get a lot more down here. It's basically a second coat. Maybe I just need to get more comfortable with doing more coats of paint, because I'm definitely not. Or at least I don't do it often. Now that I'm trying to fade stuff, it kind of makes sense that one coat is not going to be enough. Pull some of that up there. Yeah. Just get over that edge a little bit. Just at this edge a little bit, and there's barely anything on there. Get it thicker on this little loincloth a bit. And take some water and pull. That is, believe it or not, starting to come together a little bit. Let it run a little bit in the cracks. Just a little bit more there. Yeah, it's not terrible. Get some inside here just for good measure. Just in a couple of little spots that are tough to see, but still noticeable. Hopefully it does not drip all over your armor, buddy. That's why we're going to be careful. All right. So that is an improvement, to put it mildly. Let plenty of this stuff just collect near the bottom. Then how am I going to sit you down? If I look at this way, can you sit this way? You can. If you're very gentle. So at the very bottom of it, to make it really bright, I may hit it with that burgundy. But it is going to need some amount of shade work, no matter what. Decisions. Essentially what I'm going to get, in fact, I can sit him like this. So there'll be a lot of dark lines. I'm nowhere near done, so don't think I'm going like, oh, this is how it's going to be. But colors wise, I'm going to keep adding stuff to get some more darkness in. It's going to be pretty light, and that won't. But he's going to have a lot of dark lines on him. So I am going to go with Warp Lock Bronze on like the armor and stuff like that. There'll be some rusty metal. So it'll be pretty darn light, but with a lot of heavy contrast lines on him. Does that get me where I need to go? Tough call. Tough call. What I can do right now while he sits there and very carefully leans on his back, I think what I want to do is take, I'm going to test it first, but I think I'm going to take Berserker Bloodshade and try to get it all along the veins on here. So not painting it with it, but just dabbing it. I may use a tiny brush for it. Just dabbing that there, just getting it over all the veins. That's a fun thing to do. And I may need a smaller brush for that. In fact, I should use a smaller brush for that. In fact, I have a wicked tiny brush for that. And it may be too small for it. But we'll see. And this is what I plan to also sort of shade around the holes that are in here. This is a dark red. Don't spill it, buddy. Don't you dare spill it. I'm gonna move this guy out of the way here. What a project. There we go. Oh, look at that. Oh. No wonder I'm saying look at that. It ain't the right thing. That was straight up Sigvald. Oof. So many bottles lying around. There you go. Safe enough. Wow, that was bright. Berserker Bloodshade. We're back in business. Brief lapse in judgment. There we go. And if I just run this down, it should hug the side of all these veins. Make them stand out a little bit. What's up, super tiny brush? Am I sticking my head in the shot? Good, I am not. This brush is too tiny. I'm not sure I'm getting enough wash on the brush. Might need to go one size bigger. How small is that brush? Oh yeah, it's microscopic. That is wicked tiny. Do I have the right one here? BRB. This one should do the trick. Alright, so we're just going to surgically, yeah, now we're getting a little tiny amount of drip on there. That's exactly what we want. And this I'm definitely going to only be able to do one side and then have to flip this boy over, or leave him aside before I flip him over. But you can see that it's like it's picking that line up perfect. You just got to be really ginger with it. Little dab, little dab. This stuff is great. Just run it down the line. And I think I'm going to have to, maybe I'll have to do that whole top. Maybe I won't. Gently, buddy, gently. When does Space Marine come out? We still got like a month. I think we still got a month waiting on that one. I'm definitely excited to check that out. I may actually stream it. just because I haven't actually streamed playing a video game before, and I'm trying to do as many things on the sort of YouTube-y bucket list as possible. It's not a bucket list, but list of activities. Right, that was a little heavy, but that's fine. There we go. But I am excited for that. Ooh, this feels like surgery. You are a little heavy. No offense. There we go. Just a little dab. There we go. Just bringing those lines right out. Weird, spiny, veiny bits. I feel like if you do Tyranid armies, you gotta get very good at this. They all have weird, veiny stuff. I think Gene Stealers definitely do too. Alrighty. This is starting to look interesting. There we go. For contrast, now those veins are starting to really pop out there. I'm curious if I'll have to do this actually more than once. I guess I don't mind, but it is fine. Motor skills work. And my motors are not so fine. Just waiting to drop the ball. I should be more positive I'm doing fine here. I need to learn to be more patient, and this is a very good way to do it. Just fine. Yep, I am going to hit this whole thing with it. Just let it settle into those creases. There we go. That is going to make things pop nicely. Get all the way on the base of this furry, weird stuff. Yeah, Berserker Bloodshade. You are putting in work. There you go. Little glob in there. I can pick some of that up. I am very pleased with how these veins are turning out. They look neat. I don't. Maybe they will need a second round. I doubt it. This stuff is like wine. All right, gotten over on one side. Just make sure that this is decent over here. I mean that's a lot of detail that wasn't popping before, so we will just do it again. Do it all over again. Yeah, I like that. What is the game that is like space battles? The Battlefield Gothic? I've never tried that out. I've seen it on sale. I've thought about it. But I do like sort of those kinds of strategy games. I should probably check it out. Some big old battles, record them. There we go. There we go. That's a little much. Clean the brush a little bit. Don't be afraid to take a little break. No reason to rush. No reason to rush. There we go. All the way up against that edge so it makes just that little crease pop a bit. I love this. Love it. I may take a night or two off after this. So I have a bunch of stuff to catch up on outside of this. I finally started putting some decent thumbnails on these recordings so you could tell what I was working on. I do have some administrative crud I gotta do. And I do have some amount of progress that I need to make in Cyberpunk. Consider that important. I got my own video games to play too. We'll see. I don't know. The thing is, now that I've gotten this guy started, it is very tempting to just paint all day, every day. Can't do that. But it's very inviting. Ugh. Stretch. Ugh. And keep going on this big old spine. Getting shaky. Not too shaky though. But it's starting to set in. That's alright. Mortarion's a pretty simple model. It's no big deal if you get a little shaky on it. Ooh. Say as I dab that over the edge. As long as you keep Q-tips around you, relatively safe. Can't paint fast, learn to Q-tip fast. Okay. Still going. Just lean back for a second. Have a sip. Contemplate life. You know, embrace the shakiness of your hands. What's up, Maury? Good to see you. Do we chat this week? I think we do this week. I'm going to need to get your address. I think I'm going to try to send you a mug and a t-shirt. I have to test the shipping. I somewhat embrace the shakiness, but these veins are so tiny. Everything's so small. I was talking all this trash. I'm like, all the parts of this model are big. Now I'm on these veins, and I'm like, ooh, gotta be careful. Be careful. There we go. There we go. That's not too bad. I think I do this to relax. Looks way better with these painted in. Way better. Now I'm feeling confident. Confident enough. All right, so I still have to figure out what to do about this edge here that came off a little straight, but the wings are definitely coming together. They're looking moth-like. I think I'm going to stick with this Berserker Bloodshade. Shipping will cost you too much. Oh, but Maury, I'm not shipping to Brazil. I am locally sourcing stuff to be made, I think, in Brazil and shipped to Brazil. I have to check the shipping of my produce on demand network. I'm not shipping stuff from here. Don't you worry. And you're 100% correct. That would be very expensive. Black one with the text only. I think what you're going to get is a white one that is somewhat black with just the text on it. But we'll see. I've got to check. I made one mock-up. And then yeah, hopefully that'll work. So this definitely looks good around those burned out holes. Yeah, that's good stuff. Oop. Yes, I have to check my global infrastructure. It's funny, like, I think I'm just going to make funny stuff and force my kids to wear it. I can just print dad jokes on demand. So my kids do have some Warhammery clothing already. Hawkswalkers are annoying. You said it, buddy. Hawkswalkers are annoying. Yeah, these wings, man. These are something else. There we go. Boop. Yeah, this bit of Berserker Bloodshade right around those spots just makes those holes nice. Makes them sing. Makes them look unhealthy, as they should. You know, I could hit. I don't want to get all megalomaniac like just because I like this one color. But I could hit that whole edge. I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna hit the tears for now. Can always go back. Add more. I'm not gonna do anything like that in one fell swoop. Yeah, freshly made holes, because he's gonna get all shot up when I throw him out there. That is faux show. Alright, I got a bunch of bullet holes on this side to do. It does make them freshly made. That's a very good call. So as much as my army, I think, is very suboptimal, I do force the person on the other side. They can't just focus fire Mortarion because I've got that Knight Tyrant. You gotta pick one or face them both. I might just have them hang out with each other. Let them just run down in a blaze of glory. Lose like 1,000 points of my army in one turn. Call it a day. But it's a pretty imposing duo. That is for sure. Well, Dane. It is pretty late for you, buddy. But I do appreciate you hanging. 2 rounds today. 2 rounds. That's what happens when Americans get a holiday. They just paint models all day. But legit, thanks a bunch for hanging. But you do deserve some rest. And I need to drink something because my throat's going nuts. Got a lot of painting done today. Set these guys to dry a bit. Get some of this out of this brush. Let him chill out for a second. All right, so that fades a little bit better. There's still going to be obviously tons of places I need to clean him up. And it's nice and wispy. He's got some color on him. I could, let's see what time it is. Oh yeah, it's not for me, but got COVID jab at 3. Yeah, you need some sleep, buddy. Go for it. Thanks a bunch for hanging. All right. Well, if still so light. It's ghostly light. What should I do next? This should have gotten some purple on it. Maybe I'll just hit it with some more blue. This purple at least is like, it's still wet, so I gotta be super careful. It's light, but I'm confident that I can just hit it with more and more. Yeah, take it easy. Thanks a bunch. I'm confident if I have to, I can hit it with more coats, and then I can definitely like pull that trigger on the bottom of it and just make it like eye blinding. The blue, I'm not so confident in. I gotta find a way to get that a little bit darker. But now everything's kind of a little damp. Could go to metallics. Could go to Warplock Bronze. I think I should. I can hold him from the top. I do have a ton of bronze work to do, and I think it'll just make me feel better because it's like going to my happy place once I start painting with Warplock Bronze. There's Lead Belcher. You able to go to it? Yeah. Take care, TK. And thanks for stopping by. You're always welcome. It's an honor having you hang out and watch me fumble my way through painting this guy. Where are the actual supports? Do you mean for him to stand up? I haven't put him on his base yet. And that's so mainly I can get under there pretty easily. But he will sit on this, and he's literally going to stand up on top of these things. He's floating. He's going to look like that. And this will have another little wispy piece coming off of it. You think that's crazy? You think that's crazy? His wings, I'm very gentle, only attach via these 2 little bits. I'm not even sure this is the right side. Literally just wee. I'm not sure if they're like that or like that, but see this notch, yeah. His wings attached just on these. He floats. He's levitating. It is not cat safe. You are 100% correct. In fact, all these little pieces I keep all the way up here now. I bonk my desk. Um, is not cat safe. It is absolutely not. All right. You know what? These are dry enough where I'm just going to hit the back sides of these now. Finish that job. Get through a whole job. It is so not cat safe. Yeah, he floats on the cloths, and then these tiny little two little bits are what hold him intact in terms of his wings. I'm pretty sure this model breaks on people all the freaking time. Yeah, gotta do the backside. I almost forgot. I thought my job was done. Good thing I got the shakes. On smaller models, I have absolutely forgotten like whole sections of them and literally thought I was done because I got so entranced with like a last step that I was doing. We're like, oh, it looks good. And then I'd start putting the stuff on the base and it's spinning around. I'm like, oh, it's like a whole quarter of it. It's like untouched. I did that a lot with my poxwalkers. That's because I was running through a bunch of them, doing like 27 in a clip. That was a project. That was a painful new guy project. Surprise! You're halfway done. I still can't believe I did 27. It wasn't like it was in one sitting, but still. Like I did 3 test poxwalkers and then another 27 of these guys, and they're so tiny. Just bulldog through it. And it wasn't like I was streaming it, I was recording it with the intent of cutting a video with it. So I had to be like way careful in how I did everything to keep stuff like eternally in the shot. But I did it. I'm a learning computer. Yeah, you're accidentally into speed painting. It was a lot of painting sessions. I'll just put it that way. It didn't feel like speed painting. I should go back and see how much footage I actually cut for it. I think I can go back and check it in Premiere. But it was just, I know I had to go back and forth from my camera and like every night just grab the save card out of it, dump everything onto my computer, then go back the next night. I was rabid. Rabid. Yeah, these look so much better when you coax them out with this shade. Yeah. I I got an extra lens on top of my lens. I don't even remember what it is, but I was messing around with lenses for a while. And I have more light, which means my aperture is smaller, which means my depth of field is better. I'm absolutely overjoyed that you noticed. My executive producer. But yeah, it took some work. But I figured it out. I think the lights are a big part. The lens is definitely a part of it, but having the lighting come up enough where I could actually tamp down the f-stop on it was pretty critical. I'm gonna try not to blind you, but like, see that? Move my hand. There's that light back there. Boop, another one up there. I know the science behind it really is dope. It's also made it easier for me to see what I'm doing. But I'm running so many lights on this, it's ridiculous. There's those 2 big ones, there's a ring light, there's this thing, and there's 2 more guys there. This desk has become a farce. It's really quite ridiculous. I'll get a tan. Get my moon tan, my video game tan. That would be nice if I got a tan in here. All just to paint my crazy models. Alrighty, this is showing up. Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot. Easy there, buddy. Not get ahead of ourselves. There we go. Little dab. Little dab. There we go. Pull a little bit more of that up too. Yoink. Gently. And this will be crazy when I get this model done. He is a big boy. Quite the centerpiece. Bit much. There we go. Just take it nice and easy. Go ahead, Zamidi, keep telling yourself that. There you go. A lot of my just rabble while rambling while I do this. It's like somewhat because someone might be out there watching me. The other part is I'm literally just comforting myself like a little kid trying to get themselves to fall asleep. Yeah, just go slow. You'll be fine. I'm just psyching myself up. No worries. We're just painting. Get around those edges. Yeah, that looks yummy. Nice and sickly. What a thing to say about your work. Nice and sickly. Good job. You look ill. Get around this tear. Yeah. I will say this, very fun model. And I know it's expensive, but in that sort of hours of entertainment to cost, this one's definitely in that like Civ realm of like, I'm going to be doing this for a long time. On this. All right, a couple more holes over here. And this guy will be done. So he's pretty darn strong. All the Primarchs are pretty darn strong. He's a little bit more situational than he was in the past, from what I've gathered. Um, I think he's not. I mean, no Death Guard are, but he's not as tough as he used to be. But he can still just like run straight up and smush things. Um, Essentially, he's got a really good gun. Boop. And a really good size. Boop. And because he's a Primarch, he gets to like every turn pick one of 3 abilities to have turned on. But his jammy jam, if you will, is that he or buddies within, I think it's 6 inches of him, can ignore negative modifiers. Just pretty big. So like, you just kind of roll at will. don't have as much to worry about. That's pretty powerful stuff. Yeah, before 10th, from what I gathered, from what I saw on his sheets, like you can definitely still like run up with him and rock out on people. He's still tough, but no Death Guard are as tough as they used to be. But if you treat him like an Uber leader, like he's not in a unit, but he's got a bunch of guys following around him, you can get a lot done with him. And then he himself is no slouch. All right, how do I want to do this? Flip you that way. Yeah, he gets shot a lot. That is the big risk with him. Um, so I think he's probably more effective against melee because he can get shot up. I mean, he's tough though. Like he can take some shooting, but he totally stands out when those wings are on him. He's thing is, I mean, he's got to be. He's about the height of that tyrant, but his wings make him totally stand out. If you want to look it up, there's a model for you've probably seen it for Magnus the Red. Similar thing, Primarch, huge wings. It's just like, but they have decent movement. They get around. They do a lot of damage. They can take a decent chunk of damage, and they're cool. You got to pay the price for cool. And it's a price I happily pay. But no, he can get it done. Uh, but some terrain is pretty tall. I think you just have to pick and choose how you play them, where you put them out. I mean, everyone has a story about some great unit getting absolutely just gunned down turn one, and it happens. Like it does. But one thing I've never seen is anyone sort of admitting the fact that you're rolling six-sided dice and like six-sided dice swing pretty wildly. I definitely remember from my Blood Bowl days of like sometimes you crit fail pretty terribly and sometimes you roll a lot of sixes and do really well. And when you're playing with big chunky dice, it comes and it goes. Like if you roll well enough, you can absolutely shred a very, very tough unit. And that's war. Like, but if you are good at playing the odds, you put them in a decent place, and you're using your like command points in a way that keep him protected, he can dish a lot out. Thing is, I'm going to be forcing people to really think about focus firing either him or my tyrant. Contaminator, reroll plague weapon. Well, yeah, um, they're good times. He is really good if you've got him next to some really good units. Uh, yeah, I mean, you spend a lot. He's a lot of points. I don't remember exactly how much he is right now. I'm not going to pull out my phone to look it up, but like you are investing a lot of points in him. And if someone does focus fire him, he's done. I mean, for all intents and purposes, half of my army is these two guys. Half of it. Kaput. They're, in my opinion, points well spent. Um, I don't know the exact point cost off the top of my head, but like Poxwalkers are cheap. You get plenty of them. They block a lot of damage, and they can actually hit and hurt stuff. People don't believe it, but at face value, yeah, 470. Good times. I mean, the way I see it, if I lose both my big old Tyrant and Mortarion turn one, like, that's good. I get to go home early. Nothing to worry about. Half my army's gone. I have been thinking a lot more about the rules now that I'm precariously close to having a full army and need to think about what points I squeak in where. And I think this army will be fun. It's got a couple of really big nasty things, and then it's got some Plague Marine units that will be interesting for based on what they're bringing with them, because they each get a Chaos Lord, and each one of those guys, if they're close to you, each one of those units, every single turn forces you to make a roll, and they could force some mortal wounds. So as long as I don't get them completely and utterly shot up on the way to the battle, and they are wicked slow, those Plague Marine groups can just like grab some objectives, sit there, and if you try to run up and melee them, you just take a bunch of attrition. Which I guess is not particularly sexy, but it sounds like a sound strategy to me. A lot of people are like load up Plague Marines or better yet Terminators into some transports. I'm not getting transports. The guys are slow. In the lore, they're slow. They'll take their time. They'll get there. But yeah, I mean, talk is cheap. My goal next weekend is to case out a couple local shops, just sort of see what the vibe is there. There's a couple around here that say they got beginner nights. So I'll just sort of figure those out. Find a place to haunt. Go from there. Oh yeah, disgusting holes. All shreddy. One more good one. I do. I do specifically need a place to store and transport my army, and it's a big deal. And time has passed by while I've just been like whittling away, and I hadn't thought about it much. And now, like, it is upon me. I have to get this army somewhere. I have to move it. Uh-oh, that's horrifying. Um, it's really scary, and there are cases for it. But I got to start doing some research, and I got to buy one soon. It would be a shame, though. From a lot of the stuff that I've seen and read, like you keep some crazy glue with you, your stuff breaks, deal with it, live with it. But I mean, I, I think everyone must have broken one of these wings off at some point. I thought for a brief second that I would try to figure out how to put these on with magnets because I have small ones. And there wasn't a really good way to do it, and then I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna mess around with this model and start drilling holes in it. But I was, you know, super scared about weapons breaking off, and magnetizing this dude was the best thing ever. It's great, pull them off when I go, but my malignifier has like little hanging Christmas tree ornament like things on it. I don't know how to solve for that. I still don't know how to solve for this stuff down here. All right, let's see if this guy dried up at all. Is he still damp? He's not too damp. He's a little damp. I think, yeah, he's a little damp. I think that may be it for tonight. I don't think I can safely put any more paint on this model without starting to screw things up. I think my next session will be a lot of the metallics, and then I'll get a really good sense for how much contrast I have. Neodymium magnets might fit. I have a collection. I don't know what neodymium is. Sounds like Neil Diamond. I got a bunch of piles of them. Some of them are like, I think they're like 6 millimeters, 8 millimeters are the bigger ones, and they're pretty strong. These weapons, the magnet they attach to is actually underneath here, so it's already, you can hear a little click. Yeah, it actually goes through a layer of plastic. So they definitely work. I'm psyched about those. And I got a lot of magnets. The other thing people do, so we're talking about transport, show you in this camera. So you've got your guy, he's on his base. If you're a good citizen, you've actually put stuff on the base so it looks cool. I'm not yet on this guy, but the magnets fit under here. You super glue a magnet on the bottom of this, and then you get a sheet of ferrous metal that's in your case, and all these guys just boom, stick to it. And they don't slide around like, I mean, if you chuck the whole case, it's going to go flying. But if I magnetize all of them, then you don't really have to like wrap them up in like anything weird like styrofoam or anything like that, because they're curiously strong magnets. They should just boom, stick down. And then it also gives the base of it a little bit more weight so they don't topple as easy. So I think I'm going to do that. But I think I want to find a case that just, yeah, I will do that. I'll do that, Maury. Don't threaten me. I'll do it. I'll do it. You double dare me. I will do that. I want to find if they have a case that's just like pre-done like that. So I'm not like, if I try to cobble together a case, the likelihood that I actually design it into not working that way anymore is pretty high. But yeah, I think it works. But this model just looks like it's like, oh, well, what does it stand on? It's floating on cloth. It's going to like, boop, stand like that. Sounds terrifying. But they do hold together. Oh, and I do want to tell you one other thing. You can build this model with either the gun in this hand or the gun in that hand, and then the scythe in the other one. He comes with two faces. And one face, he's just kind of looking forward with his eyes open, and the other face, he's looking down the barrel of the gun. How much of the time you can't see because it's like all white. But I thought it was a really amazing, yeah, this thing is made to break. A really amazing detail on here that, like, if you pick the face that goes with the gun out, he's like looking down the barrel. Neat stuff. All right, I've had enough. I'm tired. I have to go to work tomorrow, which means sitting in this chair, but looking that way instead. I want to thank everyone who showed up. More is great to see you. Send me your direct message me on Discord and get me an address that I can mail stuff to you, and I'll use you as my guinea pig in Brazil to see how their shipping works. Take it easy. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.